Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this webinar. During the next 30 minutes, I will discuss the main challenges faced by TV broadcasters in Sub Saharan Africa, with a strong focus on free TV and digital market. If you have any questions, I will answer them at the end of this presentation. And afterwards, this presentation will be published on our website, Dataxis.com, in the webinar section, so you will be able to download it at any time for free. But first, a few words about us. Dataxis is a global business intelligence company with offices in Europe, America, and Africa. Regarding our research activity, Dataxis is a leader in market intelligence on TV, media, OTT, and telecom markets, with a strong focus on Europe, Latin America, and Africa, as well as Middle East. We also organize conferences through different parts of the world, in South and North America, in Africa, and in Europe, here in Berlin. But unfortunately, and as you can imagine, our coming events have been postponed. However, you can still access our newsletter, Next TV News, for Latin America, Brazil, MENA, and Sub-Saharan Africa. I recommend you to subscribe. It is free and updated daily. Besides our corporate offer, we recently launched a new data-on-demand service with dynamic reports on TV, OTT, and telecom markets by country. If you signed up now, you get 3 free credits to try and download data for the markets you're interested in. So don't miss this opportunity. So let's start now with the webinar itself. And to begin, I would like to briefly introduce the region we are going to talk about. Sub-Saharan Africa is made of 46 countries, accounting for more than 1 billion inhabitants. It represents 230 million households, with an average of 5 persons per household. The zone is subject to a fast demographic growth that results in a rejuvenation of the population. The region is also mainly rural, with almost 60% of the people living in the countryside. We observe strong disparities in terms of population distribution, as you can see on the map on the right. 5 countries represent half of the total population of the region, Nigeria being the most populated one, with 215 million inhabitants in 2019. Electrification remains low in 2019, with only 43% of households having access to electricity. But big differences between countries and regions are noticeable too, from 9% in Central African Republic to more than 90% in the islands, like Mauritius, Cape Verde, and Seychelles. Ultimately, Sub-Saharan Africa has a big potential market in terms of size. It accounts for 14% of the global population, but only generated 2% of the global world GDP in 2019. Looking closer, one can see that several countries are driving the local economy. Nigeria, South Africa, and Angola constitute together more than half of the region GDP. The map on the right again illustrates the economic disparities and compare the GDP per capita by country. Although it doesn't take into account the inequalities within countries, it gives a general idea of the standard of living within the region. So now let's have a look on television. 43% of Sub-Saharan Africa households have access to TV in 2019. Among them, as you can see, 34% pay TV, 34% subscribe to a pay TV offer, making the free-to-air households a majority in 2019. Again, those figures are not reflecting the unequal repartition of TV households in the region. And the map can give you information on the differences observed by country. South Africa, in particular, I would like to highlight this specificity because it stands out. The country represents 15% of the region's TV households and 20% of the total pay TV subscribers, with a national pay TV penetration of 57%. Some countries, especially in Central Africa, as you can see, still lack infrastructures to develop a strong TV market. Sub-Saharan Africa is also one of the rare regions in the world where analog TV is still broadcasted. However, DTH and DTT free TV are developing to compensate this backwardness. Building on this trend, some operators blend and brand free channels in packages that they then distribute throughout countries. The objective for the satellite offers is to build a strong national and regional position and to make free channels more attractive for advertisers. Since I start with satellite, I would like to get more into details with the free-to-air DTH bouquet. They rely first on the commitment of a satellite operator to build an orbital position targeting a specific country. Such development involves partnering with a national operator, aggregating local content, and building a set-top box and dish distribution network. I would like to share with you some interesting examples that make us believe that this model could last in the region. So first, in Ghana, with the DTH bouquet multi-TV, Eutelsat has actually successfully built a national orbital position on this country 10 years ago. So aggregated under multi-TV brand, the hosted free-to-air DTH bouquet now reaches some 5 million households. Also hosted on Eutelsat and available in all West Africa, the bouquet MyTV also made success while developing a robust distribution strategy through its mother company and set-top box provider, Strong Technology. Finally, we can also mention the South African package OpenView that reached more than 1.5 million active set-top box, and the Ghanaian actor Mega Choice, which is claiming to offer up to 40 channels. In light of our research and with the coming analysis of this webinar, free-to-air DTH bouquet stands as a sustainable model with growth potential in several other countries. We will have the opportunity actually to talk more about this subject in our coming webinar, Building an Orbital Position, in partnership with the satellite operator Intelsat. It is scheduled for the end of June, and you can see it on our website already. You will be able to register soon if this subject meets your interest. I would like to proceed with the DTT bouquet that you can see on the just here. So DTT free bouquet are also on the rise, although limited by the infrastructure development in the region. Such actors are aggregating channels in a local offer and therefore granting them direct exposure and accessibility to local households. In some countries, the DTT rollout is assigned to an operator that, in exchange, can operate the network for a given period. This was the case for ex-CAF, for example, in Senegal in 2014. Households can then access the free-to-air bouquet after buying and connecting their digital set-top box. Other examples include Bamba TV in Kenya, Continental in Tanzania, or Free TV in Nigeria. So as you have noticed, digital migration is still a topic in Sub-Saharan Africa. It can be surprising to see remaining analog households, knowing that the deadline for digital migration was initially fixed in June 2015. But before shutting down the analog signal, broadcasters and states have to go through several steps that need significant capital involvement. So namely, build the DTT infrastructure itself, digitalize the existing channels, invest in content to improve the offering of channels and make the transition worth it, and finally, equip the population with boxes and compatible TV sets. Generally speaking, the process needs the contribution of all the players mentioned before. In some countries, like Somalia or the Democratic Republic of Congo, where no clear digital migration strategy have been formulated, there is no chance for the DTT to roll out soon. Ultimately, the analog signal will have to be shut down for spectrum share purposes. However, we don't believe this will occur everywhere in 2024, as you can see in our forecast on the left. But from a broadcaster's point of view, still, DTT could be a chance. In fact, until digital development, and this is the case in several countries, as you can see on the right, many regional channels were only broadcasted in analog and thus limited to regional advertisers. With the national distribution allowed by the DTT, channel can access national advertisers. It can be an opportunity to grow their revenues at the condition yet to produce enough quality content to make an attractive offer. However, this is not likely to be on the agenda of the countries where digital migration has not yet succeeded and where national players are not actively engaged in the transition. As a matter of fact, the more time passes, the more opportunities pay TV operators and DTH actors have to take the place of the DTT. Looking at the revenues now, revenues are free-to-air TV markets. So total free TV revenues stood at $1.1 billion in 2019, with net TV advertising reaching $890 million US. It highlights a weak advertising market, especially when you consider that South Africa represents 35% of this total. More broadly, we can see that the advertising TV market is linked to the side of the economy, since the two remaining African giants, Nigeria and Angola, make up the other two largest shares of revenue in 2019. A 5% growth has been noticed at the scale of the region. However, free-to-air revenue has been quite stable looking at the 5 past years, and the current sanitary crisis leads us to forecast a decline in revenue over the next 2 years. We will go back to this issue later. Among the total free-to-air revenue, 17% of those resources come from public fundings, with quite contrasted situation from one country to another. Generally speaking, free TV revenue are limited and advertisers remain hesitant to invest in Sub-Saharan Africa. Let's see now how channels are dealing with the situation. First, to produce content and also to remain profitable. And I would like to start with the national public channels, edited by public broadcasters. Those channels rely on two types of resources. First, public funding, and second, advertising revenues. Hence, they account for most of the free-to-air revenues in the region, often at the expense of potential new entrants. And as we will see later, it is, among other, limiting the development of a large TV landscape in the region. Additionally, to direct funding from governments, several countries have implemented a TV license fee endorsed annually by the households, a fee that you can also find in most of European countries and worldwide. From $10 in Ghana to $30 in Mauritius, it represents a significant additional resource for public TV networks. In Ivory Coast, for example, TV licensing fee generated $10 million in 2017, which added almost one-third value to the public broadcasters' budgets. So on the map, I highlighted the countries that have implemented a TV license fee in the sub-Saharan region. However, and ultimately, public TV's budgets remain low, and this is impacting directly investment and innovation. As a result, most public channels lack attractive content and fail to develop online strategies that could engage young audience. And for the time being, most of these networks don't broadcast in HD and mainly rely on old infrastructures. Public channels also suffers today from the weakness of the advertising market that we talked about before, and also from the growing competition of international and private broadcasters that we will see right now. With the rapid and radical changes occurring in the broadcasting environment, the region is witnessing new players enter the TV landscape to complement and compete with existing actors. New entrants are mainly private channels, and they have the particularity that their business model rely 100% on TV advertising. In terms of content, to get more in detail into this subject, like public broadcasters, there are only few original productions, except local low-budget drama and entertainment. Local content, news and telenovela are driving the program grids, but don't generate high-value advertising revenues. At the scale of the region, public broadcaster, as I mentioned before, still capture the biggest part of TV advertising revenue. However, depending on the development of free TV national market, private actors can succeed to attract significant revenues, like in South Africa, for example, where the market is more mature and dynamic and allows bigger competition to develop. However, given the limited advertising markets, there is only little room left for new channel development. Still, we can mention the significant reach of international news channels like France 24, BBC, or Deutsche Welle. They are widely distributed and watched in Sub-Saharan Africa, but they do not rely on local advertising to survive. Let's have a look now on the forecast of free TV revenue. So for the coming years, here it's only total net TV advertising revenue. So the net TV advertising revenues are meant to be significantly impacted by the COVID-19. We believe that the pandemic will still have negative effects on the African economy in 2021, with a limited growth resuming in 2022. Still, this trend is general to the region, but some exceptions would be noticeable in specific markets. For example, in Ivory Coast, the development of the market could benefit from a major breakthrough with the introduction of the TV audience measurement tool of Médiamétrie. And this is also the occasion for me to make a highlight on TV audience measurement, which is an important topic in Sub-Saharan Africa. It remains very marginal in the region, with simply no metrics on TV in most countries. In best cases, daily-based studies are conducted with up to 1 month's delay for results. So in this condition, it is difficult to build an advertising target or a program consuming scheme. And without reliable data on audience specificity, advertisers are not keen to massively invest in TV. Yet, some noticeable initiatives can be pointed out, and I put their logo in the slide. So first, I would like to mention Africa's Cup, a tool of Kantar Media that issues twice a year TV metrics on 8 French-speaking markets. Still related to Kantar Media, Geopol is a service that provides audience data collected through mobile-based methodology. However, this is not regular on all the markets where the service is available. And finally, in the most advanced markets, so South Africa, the South African Audience Research Foundation provides daily metrics, relying on TV box recording TV sets activities. Although advertisers and most broadcasters are asking for audience metrics to develop, TV advertising market in the current situation seems too weak to afford investing in regular and digital TV measurement. It will also need a collaboration of every players of the market and remains difficult to implement given the heterogeneity of the sub-Saharan region. So to counter this situation, or an alternative to this situation, is OTT. In fact, OTT distribution could be a solution to balance the lack of TV audience measurement, because online platforms are able to provide live, individual, and reliable metrics on video consumption. Also, I can mention that the young population targeting by advertisers is more and more likely to watch content on their mobile in Africa. However, connectivity is still underdeveloped within the region. In many cases, data plans remain too expensive for people to afford video consumption. And although mobile internet has a strong penetration, the speed and quality of the connection is rarely sufficient to watch video. As of today, broadcasters actually haven't massively started to invest and to develop online strategies. Budgets are already very tight, and the online monetization remains low. Yet, some initiatives of TV broadcasters in punctual markets are noticeable, and I would like to share with you 2 examples. So, first one in South Africa, where SABC and ETV signed an agreement with the freemium actor View, giving the platform giving the platform the exclusive digital rights on their shows. Launched in March 2019, the service is accessible via apps and browser. The two national broadcasters thus disengaged from a standalone digital strategy and choose to join forces to face space TV competition within the region. The other example I would like to mention is the platform SSA in Kenya. In 2017, Royal Media Service is a big media group of Kenya who owns Citizen TV and Inoro TV, launched its OTT platform. The service, accessible via subscriptions, offers 100% local content in various local languages and also includes catch-up and live of its TV broadcasters, but also the news channel Al Jazeera, for example. In November 2019, Royal Media Group removed all this content from YouTube, suggesting that it has found a sustainable way to monetize its online audience. So here we look at the last area of development for free TV, also digital but hosted on global platform. Most of broadcasters are already present on social media, using Facebook to highlight their program grids and YouTube to provide catch-up services. There is actually a massive usage of YouTube in Sub Saharan Africa, and almost 25% of the region population has an active Facebook account in 2019. However, two difficulties inherent to the market will remain on this scheme. First and foremost, it is still difficult to monetize content within a small advertising market. As you can see on the third graph, digital ADEX remain very low in the region, especially when you notice that South Africa stands out. Most of the online strategies employed by broadcasters are meant to increase their visibility right now, but not to generate revenues. However, the fact that more metrics are available online, and the fact that advertisers are looking towards younger audience can be a good point and can mean significant revenues can be generated on this media. Another point to be made is the limited development of internet infrastructures that has to be considered. We can also talk about the high pricing of the broadband access. To face those two issues, broadcasters might actually rely on mobile operators who have an existing link with mobile internet consumers and who are able to improve data accessibility. So before coming to the conclusion, I would like to have a look on the pay TV broadcaster of the region. There are several types of actors editing pay TV channels in Sub-Saharan Africa. First, there are the three main pay TV operators of the region, namely MultiChoice, StarTimes, and Canal+, who are editing their own channels, actually. They operate a mix between self-produced content and content acquisition. When we look at the number of channels edited, South African MultiChoice is by far the leader. Hence, in terms of content, it has the capacity to invest in quantity and amount because it captures almost 100% of the South African TV market revenues. The operator has a virtual monopoly on sport rights and keep investing in premium content acquisition and local production. StarTimes, for its side, has less premium positioning and started to position itself on local content, in particular via its paid DTT packages. And finally, Canal Plus is growing its local production capacity with the takeover of Nollywood studio Rogue from Iroko TV in 2019. US TV networks are also present in the region through giants like Disney, Discovery, Viacom CBS, and the like. Although there is a growing demand for local content, US channels mainly broadcast US content. So it is time for me to conclude this webinar. As we have seen, free TV remains majority in TV reception in Sub Saharan Africa, with exception made of South Africa that we mentioned during the presentation. Although the market suffers from limited advertising revenues, there is still potential, especially when we look towards DTH orbital positioning development strategies. But in order to really secure a sustainable growth in free TV markets, the region will need the development of TV audience on a regular basis. For that, it would be necessary to actively involve every broadcasters of the region. This is complicated, but it can, without a doubt, grow advertising revenue for good. This would allow production and distribution of more attractive content that will boost free TV attraction, and it would be able, at the end of the day, to drive new competition. Ultimately, those developments would generate sufficient revenues to drive a virtuous circle and lead to better broadcast infrastructures. Digital that we mentioned before can facilitate the production of metrics. However, it remains marginal within the region as of today. As a result, paid TV offers remain attractive and growing, but as we have seen, free-to-air market can be strengthened by partnerships between broadcasters, like in the scheme of free-to-air bouquet, and with telco, especially mobile ones. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you will have enjoyed it. Now, before answering questions, I want to recommend you subscribe to our next webinars coming in June. Both are dedicated to AVOD, the first one focusing on Latin America, and the second one dealing with European players. So now I will be more than happy to answer your question. Please use the question and answer section in the upper left corner on the screen. So for the recorded version of this webinar, yeah, it will be available online as well as the presentation itself as of tomorrow. How growing VOD OTT platform are going to affect linear TV channels. So, as I mentioned before, the OTT and VOD platform and usage is still marginal in Africa. So for now, there is no competition in between linear TV and OTT or VOD. However, if you want to get further information, You can find an OTT connectivity webinar that was conducted a month ago on our website Dataxis, getting more in details into this issue. So there is a lot of question. Can you please unpack public funding for TV? Is it different to TV license? So yeah, public funding is direct, have direct funding from the government, while TV licensing fee is a tax that is endorsed by households. In some countries, the TV fee can be paid only by the owners of television. However, in other markets, for example, in Germany, every citizen will pay the TV licensing fee, whether or not they have a television screen. So in terms of content opportunity, what kind of content opportunities could be pushed in the market? So for now, and from our TV tracker tool that we have on our website Dataxis, the content that is driving audience is sports, telenovela, and local content. However, I don't know if your question were more about monetization. Yeah, for this, again, this is the kind of question that we talk about during our conferences, and so that we will delve into in our coming webinars. Do you see DTH and DTT survive long term? So for now, DTH has stable growing trend in Sub Saharan Africa. DTT is growing, of course, as a reception, as new reception. However, as I mentioned in the webinar, where DTT has not yet been launched, and in the market where actors haven't yet get actively involved, it's going to be difficult for DTT to develop as a free-to-air reception model. But I would like also to underline the fact that some pay TV operators like Canal Plus and Star Times are conducting a DTT rollout strategy on pay TV, and it is working, like in Democratic Republic of Congo, for example. Okay, so you have not touched on Netflix in the market. Yes, so very quickly, it was not the subject. However, Netflix in the region is still very marginal. First, for connectivity issue that I mentioned before. Also with the fact that they are going on it now, but they still have very few local content. They are not able to provide specific local languages, and also specific payment methods like mobile money, which is very popular in Sub-Saharan Africa, for example. In some country, there is even no local pricing. So for now, Netflix is very marginal in the region, except in South Africa. How do you see OTT live streaming develop in the region? So it will depend on the development of strong connectivity infrastructure. In South Africa, where the networks are already very developed, OTT is growing, and there is growing demand as well. However, this type of model will need better connectivity, ability to pay through mobile money or cash, and local content to develop very strongly. Yeah, so there is a lot of question coming, but I cannot, unfortunately, I can't take any more question. But if you need more details on a specific topic, or if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email to this address that is here. Don't forget, you will have access to this presentation as well as to the recording on our website, dataxis.com. Thank you very much for listening, and have a very nice day. Thank you.